Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a review of a thriller from Denmark, Danish language English subs, released in the year 2009, directed by Ole Bornedal, and this film is called Deliver Us from Evil. So the story to Deliver Us from Evil, it is set in this very remote, depressing Danish town. You've got a brother who's the main character. He's very well respected, got a great house, he's got a beautiful wife and children, two children, but he's got a brother who's a deadbeat. He's an alcoholic, he beats his girlfriend, and he also hangs around the local white supremacists. So there's one brother who's really well respected, the other brother's not, and they basically want to spend time apart from each other because they really don't fit into each other's world. So one day this alcoholic brother is driving down the highway, he's a truck driver, he gets drunk behind the wheel, he runs into a motorcyclist and he kills her. Now this motorcyclist happens to be the wife of a white supremacist leader. He's also fanatical Christian, who's had a lot of trouble in his background, so already he's a very unstable individual, and this guy who is driving the truck knows this. So instead of reporting the body, because obviously he's drunk, he's going to get in trouble, he decides to hide her on the side of the highway, and he drives off, and he's going to try and frame this other guy who is a little bit simple for the actual this disastrous event. So when this leader finds out what's happened to his wife, he goes off the rails. He wants to avenge the death of his wife, and the only way he knows how to is through a lot of brutality. So now the respected brother who knows the person that was framed for what's happened, he has to try and protect him from the oncoming danger that is about to present itself. So what happens at that point on is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Deliver Us from Evil. This is an absolutely beautiful film to look at. Now Ole Bornedal, I've seen his other films, Night Watch and Just Another Love Story. Now one thing you get with Ole Bornedal, if you're not familiar with him, is beautiful cinematography, and Deliver Us from Evil is no different. I love the way that he's basically drained almost all colour out of the screen. It's not a black and white film, but it almost resembles that of a black and white film, and you can sense the depressing nature of the movie seeping through the screen, so you actually feel the atmosphere. Not a lot of directors do this, but Deliver Us from Evil, I think by far the best part of the film is the technical aspect. I thought cinematography was excellent, the score was absolutely mesmerising. I thought it just sucks you into the emotion. Every emotion that these characters are facing, you're put along in their shoes through what you actually see. I just thought this movie couldn't have been better shot, and the score couldn't have been better. I just thought it was an incredibly depressing film. It is a movie about how you try to cope with all life's, disasters, all the bad luck in life, and it seems that all these characters don't have anything going for them, and you feel so much, not so much sorrow, but you're almost repulsed by what you're seeing on the screen. It's a movie that doesn't make any apologies, and it's showing you the bad side of human nature. It's showing you an area that is not a rich and privileged area. It's an area of very sad human beings, and the way the movie pans out, I thought it was fascinating because the characters are larger than life. You've got Lars, who's the alcoholic brother. You hate him, but at the same time you feel sorry for him because he's such a loser. You've got the other brother, who I would have liked this other brother to develop a lot more for reasons that I'm about to go into, but he wasn't as interesting. I thought Lars was by far the most interesting character, because it's not so much hating him and nothing else. It was hating him and it was feeling sorry for him, and it's just the overall tragic situation of all of these people involved. I thought the acting was absolutely fantastic. I don't really recognise any of these actors, but they do a great job, and I think Ole Bornedal, he brings out the best in people. I thought the continuity was excellent. It does take a while to build up the story, but it does build up nicely, and then right at the end it does hit you with very shocking acts of brutality. But the beauty of it is that the brutality doesn't cheapen the film. It's not done in a way that glamorises violence. It's done in a very hard-hitting way, so it does hit you over the head with a sledgehammer, and you actually feel at the end of it you've just seen a tragic tale. It's a movie where no one comes out a winner, so all in all, it's just the depressing value of life. So that's something I really appreciated. Ole Bornedal is a fantastic director, and he really delivers all of his trademarks in Deliver Us from Evil. It's a very strange atmosphere, so if you don't like strangeness, different types of films, then maybe this is not for you. But I really like the way that the movie portrayed itself. It was weird, it was very depressing, and it felt like a realistic portrayal of life when it doesn't work out. It doesn't always end in a fairy tale, and I thought this movie symbolised that perfectly. Now my problem with Deliver Us from Evil is that Ole Bornedal said himself that this was basically a Straw Dogs Danish version. Apparently he wanted to make the Straw Dogs remake, but he wasn't able to, so he made this film that doesn't copy off it in the characters and what happens in the film, but it does have the very similar formula. So if you've seen Straw Dogs, you know how this movie is going to unfold, and that was my biggest problem, is that yes, it does try to emulate Straw Dogs, but it's not as interesting as Straw Dogs because the main character, as I said before, isn't really that well developed. In Dustin Hoffman's character in Straw Dogs, I thought that was a perfect symbolisation of a coward being made to stand up for his family. So you see that transformation, and I thought it was a social commentary on a coward, and how cowards can be pushed to a limit, and even everyone has their limit, and if they cross that limit, they can become somebody else. And it's basically, I've had enough, and I'm going to exact my revenge. But in this movie, the character never comes across as a coward. He never comes across as a completely timid individual. So when all these bad things are happening, you don't really feel as though it's doing the job as well as Straw Dogs did. You feel that when all these bad things are going down, you don't get the emotion, you don't get the satisfaction that you get in Straw Dogs because of Dustin Hoffman's character, and ultimately in this film, the character of the more respected brother. He's from an upper class bringing, he doesn't feel like a coward, so he's doing all these things that don't really feel like they're out of his nature, and you just get the overall feeling that the final act of the film doesn't work as much as probably Ole Bornedal wanted it to, because that main character really needed to be fleshed out just a little bit more and give him a little bit more of a dimension. I thought he was a side character, and for this to work, he really needed to be a very strong character that betrayed a lot of emotion through the screen. But he really doesn't have a lot to play with, and I think they focused on the wrong brother, which was Lars. As I said, very interesting brother, but in the final act, he really doesn't have too much to play with. But having said that, it is definitely a movie that if you're a fan of foreign stuff, definitely go out there and see it. If you're a fan of Straw Dogs, then I would highly recommend you check out Deliver Us from Evil. Not as good as the original Straw Dogs, but having said that, it is not a bad film, and I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.